And I've let the bees out. Oh no, okay, I let all the bees out. Hello, this is Spyderrock, and welcome to the Structure Expansion add-on. This is my new add-on that adds in a ton of structures that will spawn all over your Minecraft world. This add-on is available now. There is a link in the description you can use to download it. And in this version, it has 54 structures that you can find. These structures spawn in the overworld, above ground, underground, in the end, and in the nether. However, I do have a few things I would like to kind of have as like a little mini disclaimer. Most of these structures are just normal overworld structures. There are some that spawn in the ocean. There are a few that spawn underground, and there's 2 in the nether and 2 in the end. I will be updating this add-on as time goes on to add more structures to all of the areas, and just more structures in general. For now, I think it's in a pretty good place. Another thing I did want to mention is, you may have noticed this already, there are some duplicate structures like those 2 or these like 3 things here. They all have really low chances. Like these have, you know, like a 1 in 2 or 3,000 chance of spawning. It just so happens that sometimes you will find, like this world, I searched through a few to try to find one that had a lot of duplicates. You know, sometimes you'll get no duplicate structures, sometimes you'll get a lot. It's purely by chance. But I'm going to go through and show you all 54 of these structures that you'll be able to find in your world. I did not make all of them. A lot of these structures were made by subscribers and other viewers and people on my Discord server, which you should join. There's a link in the description. I'm still accepting structures that may be added in future updates. I did some videos looking at people's structures, and I didn't end up adding every structure that was in those videos, not yet at least. But I do possibly plan to. I would like to mention before I start showing off all of the structures, if you want to, you should maybe click off the video now and go download and play this add-on for yourself. You know, of course, comment and leave a like and whatever. I'm going to be showing off all the structures, so if you want to just have the mystery of finding all these structures naturally, you know, I'm sure that would be fun just exploring and doing that, so I recommend doing that possibly. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and show them all off. Anyway, I do want to get to all of these structures. You can kind of see the idea. They're all over the place down here. Anyway, first, we have this one. It's by me. It's a big bone, and it's literally what it sounds like. It is a giant bone. I mean, this should spawn around in the desert, and it spawns kind of like half buried in the desert, so there's like a bone sticking out of the ground. The next one is a creeper dungeon by Ducky. This one's kind of backwards, but this is a dungeon that there are creeper spawners and some chests with some loot. Normally, if it's daytime, you wouldn't have to worry about there being creepers in here, but on the off chance that it's nighttime and there is a creeper, or if you end up taking the lanterns or something, you know, you may have to worry about the creepers blowing up the TNT and blowing up all the loot. Next, we have the life dungeon. I think this was by me and other people. Pineapple maybe did part of it as well. I remember doing this, you know, in one structure world a long time ago. I just went ahead and grabbed it. So this may be by other people as well. This is the one structure that I don't know that my credit will be effective on, but I did edit it, and it is working pretty well now. So this will spawn underground. This is a underground dungeon. Next up is the Meteor Crash by Sloth Lover. This will spawn a couple blocks into the ground, but still like sitting on the ground. And it is what it sounds like. It's a meteor crash. It's a meteor that has crashed. I don't know how. It's just like a little meteor, and there may be some cool stuff in there. The next series are some rocks by me. All of them have like a little different ores under them. Some of them, the most common thing is that they just have stone there. And you can, if you look down around the world, you can see a ton of these rocks around. These are a easy way to get some resources, but you can't really rely on them for getting a lot of resources. But if you see a rock, you may want to try breaking into it just to see, you know. Also, it's a good way to get stone if you need a little bit of stone. In the early game, say you just made a wood pickaxe and you don't want to go find a cave, there's probably a rock around. You can get just enough wood to make yourself a stone pickaxe. Next up is the Ruins Dungeon. This is by me, and I think some other people had some input on it as well. This is a dungeon I made a while ago for a dungeon add-on that I never ended up finishing, but now that it is finished, it is a dungeon. It has loot, and it will spawn underground. It will spawn all over the place, all over the, hopefully not too all over the place. Anyway, you can find these underground in cave systems, and they do have, well, they're like ruins. There is, you know, stuff spawns in them. There's silverfish. There's, I think there might be spiders somewhere, and there's a lot of decent loot that you can find around here. There's even a trap somewhere around here. Yeah, here it is, right here. If you step on this going that way, you will be hit in the head with an anvil. Next up are the empty and gold ruins. These are both by me. These are fairly common structures to find around your world. You can probably see a few around here, like there's an empty one right over there. These are just little ruins. I mean, it's a very basic structure. There's ruins all over Minecraft, but there's not very many that spawn on the ground. So these are kind of meant to take that place. It's just a regular ruins, and then this one has a gold block in it. It's a decent way to get a little bit of gold if you run across one of these, or if you need gold, you could maybe go exploring and probably find a couple of them. Next up is the Spruce Dungeon. This one is also by me. Now this dungeon here is a big dungeon. It's a little bit funky, and I say that only because, you know, it had some issues with some stuff and it being outdated, but in general it works, and it's this big dungeon to explore. These will also spawn rarely underground. There's all kinds of stuff. There's secret loot. There used to be a room behind a painting that had some diamonds in it, and now the painting is gone. You can still find the diamonds in it though. It's right over here, so if you need some diamonds, hey, there you go. That's kind of a reward for making it through here. There's a lot of stuff. This is one of the only rooms with any light, and there's a chest with no loot apparently. So I think most of the chests in this though do have loot of some sort. Yep, there we go. Then you've got this one room here with some lava. This is in general like one of the bigger structures. Not all the chests are going to have loot necessarily, but you know, you win some, you lose some with this thing. It's a huge structure though, so it's worth exploring. Next up is the stump. This is also by me. This is exactly what it sounds like. It will spawn all over forests and things like that. You can see there's a stump right over there on my crosshair. It's pretty hard to see, but there's a stump there, and this is what it looks like. It's a stump. And that's really it. It's just I used some of this rooted dirt because I thought it looked neat and I wanted to make a structure with it. So we have the stump. Next is the tent, also by me. Very basic structure. You get some very basic stuff in it. It's just a little tent. There's also probably a tent somewhere around here. I'm not really paying attention to my surroundings, but there's probably a tent there. Next up is the well, also by me. You can kind of notice there's a series of mine. These wells, there's one that's over one of these ways somewhere. Anyway, these wells just will spawn around the world, mainly in foresty and plainsy areas, and at the bottom they have a little bit of, like, you know, you can pretend they're like coins, but there's desert wells, so why not just have normal wells. Next up is the silverfish tree by ZZ09. This is a tree with some silverfish spawners in it, and these spawn around deserts mainly, and mesas I think as well. And it's kind of like a big, like, old tree. You could imagine that this was once a living tree thing, but ever since the desert has been desertified, it's been a silverfish tree, I guess. Next is the air balloon. This one is by William. This adds in some loot. These will actually spawn. You can see one over there spawned. These will spawn up in the sky, and these are actually worth going to because there is a diamond block hidden up there. So for those of you who are here, you deserve to know there is a diamond block here if you want it. Thanks for watching the video and stuff. I really do appreciate it. And there's some other loot around here as well. They're just neat structures to go build up to and to see kind of floating around the world. I thought that would be pretty neat. Next is the bumpkin, or the big pumpkin. I'm calling it the bumpkin. It's just a big pumpkin. These will spawn, I believe, in taiga biomes, in like places with spruce trees and stuff. And it's just a big pumpkin. And yeah, I don't know why I destroyed the whole thing, but I just did. There you go. It's a big pumpkin. Next is the copper villager. Also, the bumpkin was made by Angry Vader. The copper villager here is made by Henry Action. This is a big copper villager statue. It should, hopefully, I think this is, yeah, it's just normal copper. So if you have one of these, that you find it in your world and you want to like stay around it, you could use this as a great source of a ton of copper. I mean, copper is not that rare of a resource, so I don't mind there being a giant chunk of copper basically to find. It's basically like finding a copper vein. But if you do find one of these, you could leave it up and let it oxidize, and it's kind of like a Statue of Liberty type thing. It would be pretty neat. Anyway, up next is the banana, or the banana, or banana, I don't know. This is by Leo. It's just a banana. It spawns around jungles, and it's a funny little thing you can find. Actually, when it's covered in vines and stuff in a jungle, it looks really kind of neat in a way. Next is the fake villager house, also by William. He's done some other structures here, my friend William. This has some stuff in it, such as this that says, "Can I offer you an egg in this trying time?" You've got, it's like you see this and you're like, ooh, a village, and then it's like, wait a second, it's just the one house. It's kind of funny. Next up is the grave by Sloth Lover. It is a grave. You can break into it and find some loot. These spawn around the world. They're just kind of like graves. The next one we have here is the statue, also by Sloth Lover. This is a statue, and well, that's really it. But it's a really neat little statue, and it's a really cool little thing to find around the world. You get 2 Mojang banners. You can get an anvil. It's very damaged, but it's still an anvil. And in the middle, there is a iron block as well. So there is some loot to be found here. So if you want to find this, you can find this, and it's a nice little thing to find in your world. Next up, we have the pyramid by Zal the Mighty Chair. I think I said that correctly. I hope so. Anyway, this is a pyramid. You can open it up and you can go inside and you can find all the loot in here. But there is a trap, so you gotta watch out, and there's all kinds of loot and stuff, and you can get redstone things from it. It's a really interesting thing. It's kind of like another desert temple, and it's a really, really nice little structure to find around. Next up, we have the Amethyst Sky Tower by Phantom MC. Now, I had to offset this one down because it is so incredibly tall. Like, this thing looks really nice at the base, and then it just goes up. Like, if one of these spawns in your world, you're going to see it, no matter where you are. And there is actually some loot up at the top, so it's actually kind of like worth going up. So if you make it up here, you get a copy of Other Side, the new music disc. You get amethyst shards, potatoes, phantom membranes, locator map, all kinds of cool stuff. There's a block of emerald. There's some amethyst stuff, which is actually pretty neat because you can't really get these like all the way up here, but you could actually have this as kind of like a easier way to get up as well, or to get like amethyst stuff, especially if you had some kind of base up here. And plus there's other stuff. There's an anvil, there's, you know, other crafting benches, and then there's some spore stuff as well. So pretty neat. Next up, we have the Cloud Village by Dark Domination. This is one of my personal favorite structures in the add-on. This is basically a village. It has all of the features of a regular village. Similar houses, you've got villagers. They kind of spawn all over the place, so it's a little funny. But you've got iron golems. You've got everything that you'd want from a regular village. You do have to be careful about knocking some of these villagers off, though, so there's a little bit of a risk. Except these spawn up in the sky. These spawn up this high, maybe even higher. These spawn way up high in the sky. They do actually spawn in with some command blocks because it's a big structure, and I kind of had to do that as a compromise to make it work. But there is a lot to find here, and there is a lot of loot to be found and to be had, and there's just all kinds of stuff here. It's just a village in the sky, and it's a really good village because there's a lot of villagers. So if you find one of these, this would be a really cool place to like explore. But next up, we have the Tower Dungeon by Derpy Boy. Or the file name is Real Tau Dun. Anyway, this is a tower dungeon. There's loot in all these chests, and I set the loot for all of the chests because he set it up so that I could set the loot, which was a nice addition. And it just goes up really far. These spawn around the world as well, and you can, well, I don't know, these will all spawn around the world. I don't know, I keep saying that. But if you see one of these, you're going to see it as well. It's huge, and you reach the top, there's really good loot up here for making it all the way up. Sure, you could just build up on the outside, but there's no fun in that. And then if you want to actually get all the loot inside, because there is good loot inside as well, you know, diamonds, emeralds, and things, you got to deal with all this. You got to do some parkour, and there's skeletons shooting at you. It's going to be a whole thing. So this is a really, really neat structure. Next is the Broken Beacon by Ia Akmal. I hope I said that okay. This is a structure. There's a couple that spawn around here, or like over there, but it's a structure that's ready. It's basically a beacon, but without the beacon. So you put your beacon down, and it's going to be a blue beacon, or like a light blue beacon that shoots up out of the sky. So you find one of these, you've got everything you need to start off a beacon. You've got the iron blocks there. So this is a little bit like, you know, you find one of these and you've got a ton of iron, but they are pretty rare. So it won't be like you're seeing these everywhere. And if you find one, you could steal the iron, or you could save it and then put a beacon there once you get a beacon. Anyway, next is the Creeper Crypt, also by Ducky, who's done some of the other ones here. This is basically another creeper dungeon. Creepers will spawn from these spawners, and it's dark, and if one of them blows up, this whole thing goes. I've made it so that there's not as many. Originally there were a ton of chest mine carts, and I made it so there's not as many chest mine carts. But if you actually, this is probably going to blow up a lot of these other things, but this is what will happen if the creeper dungeon gets lit up, if you trigger it. Also, I just realized I kind of blew up this next one. This is the Nether Lab by Llama. This is a really cool structure. It's a shame I kind of blew it up. Hopefully I didn't break the redstone. No, I didn't. Okay, so you can see that it has a little portal here, another portal. It's a really neat structure. It's just kind of like another portal. There's no real loot in here, but it's another portal, and it's a really cool looking structure to find, so that's kind of worth it. Next up is the Cat Shrine by Kitty Cat YT. This is what it sounds like. It's a cat shrine. You can leave offerings in the chest, and there's like a little book that you can read, and it's just a really neat little structure to find, and it's just a big hollow cat basically. But it's a really nice looking little structure. It's pretty cool, and you can just find them around. You know, they're covered in vines and stuff. It's neat. Next we have the House Burned by Henry Action. This is like a burning house, or a house that has been burnt and there's some like burnt themed loot in it. These just spawn around. No loot too crazy, but you can get a little bit of gunpowder from it, which is kind of neat, and it's just kind of like a burnt house. Next is the raft by me. These will spawn on oceans. I don't know if you can really see any on this ocean. They're the most common thing, but if you find one, it's just a little raft. You can get a skull from it, and you can get some wood. So if you're kind of stranded in the ocean, you need a boat maybe. You could get a boat by finding the raft and harvesting it, and you could also get a boat by finding this boat and then harvesting the boat, or taking the materials, because this is another boat by me. This also spawns on oceans. I do have a little bit of an issue where sometimes like it leaves water around it, or like air around it when it sinks into the water. I don't know why. I think it's when it's like, I don't know, it does that sometimes. I don't know why. There are like structure void blocks here to prevent that from happening. Anyway, next is the Den by Pineapple, I'm pretty sure. This is a interesting structure. You can find all kinds of fun, exciting loot. You know, you've got your nice, exciting sugar here in the thing. You've got all kinds of interesting and fun things that you love to see in a structure. Anyway, next you have the campsite by Llama. This is a campsite. You know, you've got your camp. This is not a camping table. This is a campfire. That's the word. You've got a campfire. You've got some beds here. If you need some beds, you can get berries. You can get a fishing rod. Some basic loot here, but a very nice little structure to find. And you could even turn this into a little house if you wanted to. Next up is the Grand Oak Tree by Dark Domination, although I did edit this one just a little bit. This is a giant, I guess I did that to kind of all of these just a little bit to make them work. This is a giant oak tree that will spawn around in forests, and up at the top there's some pretty good loot. You can even get an enchanted gapple up here, so this is a good way to get those, since a lot of add-ons, at least add-ons that I have made, do require those for crafting things. And then you can actually get inside, and there are a ton of bees in this little honey nest thing. I guess there's not oh, there are all the bees. Okay, so if you need a lot of bees real quick, this is a great way to get them. And there's some more loot down here in a couple of chests that are buried down here. You can get some bottles of enchanting and stuff. And I've let the bees out. Oh no, okay, I let all the bees out. Well, ignoring the bees, we're moving on to the one dungeon, or like the land dungeon or something. Also by Kitty Cat YT, who did the cat shrine over there. This is a dungeon that will spawn around your world, and it's kind of it's just a little dungeon, you know. There's nothing too crazy about it. No crazy loot or spawners or anything. It's just this structure that spawns in and looks cool. I mean, it does look pretty cool. You can get some bricks and stuff from it. So there's actually a good way to get if you want to get like nether brick stuff like really early. If you want to have a little nether brick thing, that could actually be a fun way to do it if you find one of these structures. Next is the slime nest by Lizardu7. This is a nest full of slimes and rooted dirt and all kinds of stuff. It's a really neat looking little structure. You get a lot of slime loot from it. You get some emeralds and cobwebs, and of course a ton of slime blocks, and slimes do spawn around here. They're actually under the moss, which is a really creative way to do this, and slimes will spawn in here. Hey, perfect timing, the slime just spawned in. And you can find these around just kind of in the overworld, and you know, you can find some slimes. The next one is the Hive by Slothlover. This is like a smaller version of the Grand Oak Tree, except this one's just a little beehive. This one's kind of like mostly filled in over here. There's a little bit of, you know, openness, but it's a hive. It's got a spore stuff. It's got some azalea stuff. So as opposed to that one being more like glowberry focused, this one's more azalea focused. So that's pretty neat. Next up is the Magma Cube Nest by Icy God. This is a Magma Cube nest. It's a little nest, and it's got some loot in it, some netherite. These will spawn around the nether, and you can find them. A lot of times they'll be floating, sometimes they'll be partially buried. Magma cubes will spawn in here. Next up, we have the conduit thing. I don't have a name for it. It's just called ConNT in the files. It's a little like partially built conduit. This is by William, and this is a it'll spawn at the like bottom of the ocean, and it's basically a little like mini conduit thing. And if you want to, if you build a base around it, you could actually build a conduit here. So this is kind of falling with the theme of the, what is it called? The one for the beacon over there. You saw this is like a partially built conduit thing, and it's actually one of my favorite structures in the add-on, I'm not gonna lie. Next up, we have this one by me, which is the Ind Settlement. It's like a little Ind house, basically. It does allow you to get stuff like water, logs, cobblestone, lava, things like that. You can make a cobblestone generator. So if you find yourself stuck in the Ind needing blocks, or you want to live in the Ind, or you need a pickaxe or something, this is actually a structure you can use. It's kind of a rare structure, but if you find it, it's like a little settlement house. In the end, of course, I'm not gonna put an actual bed there because it's gonna explode. So I put like a little fake bed there. Next is the Diving Bell by William. It's a diving bell. It is exactly what it sounds like. And it's really neat. It's got like the little windows and it's got a little mini source of like copper blocks and stuff. It's just a cool thing. These spawn at the bottom of the ocean. Also in the ocean, you can find these submarines. Another one by William. It's just a little submarine, but it does look pretty nice in the ocean. Now onto the 50th structure, we have the Surface Geode by Ducky. This is a geode that will spawn at the surface. I guess that's pretty obvious. And you can see it's got, you know, all the normal fixings of a geode, but it spawns on ground or on land as opposed to, you know, underground. So it's a nice little way. It's not a full-size geode though, so it's not as good as actually finding one underground, of course. Anyway, next we have another one by Ducky, which is the Rock Pond or Deep Slate, that's not the word, dripstone pond. It's a little pond with some dripstone. These spawn around the world. It's like a little way that you can get dripstone in the overworld. These are pretty common to find around. Next up we have the Ind Fountain. This one's by me. This is a structure you can find in the end. It's kind of rare, but it's a little way that you can get some iron and some water in the end if you want it, and it just looks kind of neat spawning around. Next, we have the Nether Tower by Rep, and I helped with this one a little bit, but it's mostly by Rep. This is a giant tower you can find in the Nether. There are different levels of things, of spawners. Most of the spawners will actually spawn stuff outside of the tower on the little like ledges, so you have to like kind of fight them to get into the tower. And once you're in the tower, it's not too bad, but you do have to avoid this stream of lava. And if you do actually manage to make it all the way up to the top, you have to kind of build your way up here, and then you can finally make it up here where you can find a bunch of loot. But oh no, don't open that one right by the ladder or else it's going to blow you up. You gotta watch out for that one, you know, giving a little bit of advice. But you do get a lot of netherite scraps from this, although it is pretty rare. So it is a good way to get some netherite. You can explore your nether and find one of these. And finally, we have the Oak Temple, structure number 54. This one is by me. It's meant to be a parallel to jungle temples and desert temples, except this one is oak themed. So these spawn in forests and plains areas, and it's got like a little maze puzzle kind of to get through, or you've got this little thing you can go up here with a ladder, and you've almost got like a little tightrope, and then you've got some loot here, and then you can go up this spiral staircase where there is a zombie spawner as well as some loot at the top of this, so you kind of got to watch out for that. So if we head all the way up here, you can see there is a zombie spawner here, but you get a ton of bells from it. So if you like bells, you can get bells, which are also good for, you know, I'm making this add-on with my add-on pack in mind that I'm working on, so the bells are actually needed to fight one of the bosses from my Bossborn add-on, the Village Destroyer. So the bells are handy, and you get some little basic loot up here. Nothing too crazy. These aren't super rare. It's like finding a desert temple kind of, except it's in the oak area and in oak areas. Anyway, just to show you some of the things spawning around the world, you can see over here we've got a copper villager, we've got one of the nether, or like the portal things, the nether, why am I forgetting what it's called? Nether lab. You can open up the thing and get in there, and it spawns right next to a nice little village. You can see over here, if I head this way, there's a tent over there, and up here you can see the commands, because like I said, it's a big structure. I need to use commands to spawn it. But this is the cloud village. So a couple of the villagers do fall, sadly, but you know, it's just like Minecraft loading in things. So you do see a lot of structured duplicates. I am working on fixing that, so that will probably be a little bit less common when this goes live. I'm recording this before I'm finishing editing the add-on finally. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you made it to here, you can get this in the description. Like I said, stay subscribed to my channel for more add-ons in the future. This is not my last add-on by any means. I have more planned. I did want to go ahead and shout out Wither Hosting, the Minecraft server hosting service I personally use. I recommend their product. It's great, and you can use the affiliate link in the description to get 15% off using code SPY15 as well. Thanks for watching if you made it to here. Also, a shout out to my channel members. I want to shout out Leviathan and Derpy for both rejoining, as well as Pingy for being a higher level channel member. So thank you to those of you supporting my channel. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you later, and bye.